All right, everybody, you're very welcome to this evening's webinar on the nitrates consultation. I hope you can hear me. It's certainly a new format for me in terms of reaching out to a consultation. I'd like to thank everybody who has joined us for the discussion and presentations this evening, which we hope to keep certainly within the 2 hours maximum. Online, it's a very difficult process to maintain over 2 hours on a webcam. Okay, my name is Bill Callanan. I'm Chief Inspector and I'm Head of Environmental Policy with the Department of Agriculture, and this is very much a collaborative consultation between ourselves and the responsible authority, which is the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage. As we work very closely with the department in terms of environmental policy and also with the EPA on an ongoing basis, and it's on that basis that this evening's webinar is being conducted. I'm joined by a number of colleagues, so I'll introduce those, and that's Donald Grant from the Department of Housing, who'll give a short presentation in terms of water quality and trends, etc. That'll be followed then by Bernard Harris of Nitrates Division, who will go through some of the proposals. And finally, I have Lawrence Shalhoub from Teagasc, who will explain one of the major changes, which is the proposed banding of excretion rate for dairy cows and the rationale behind that. For me, the real objective here is, I suppose, importantly, that there's been a lot of talk about these proposals, but to get a clear understanding and a perspective on why they're being proposed. What is the overall objective? There's no real silver bullet here, and I think we've worked with farmers for a long time in terms of water quality and the achievement of good water quality. But it's a whole series of actions and it's a whole series of measures that are being implemented. I've been involved in a number of nitrates reviews, and I suppose the overarching message, I think, critically this time is that we are working in a framework where, whilst trends had been in a positive direction for many years, in the most recent years, we've had a negative trend, and that's something that needs to be dealt with and arrested. And I think we're clear that we need to work with farmers in terms of the achievement of that. And I've been working with farmers a long time, and I think one thing they want and appreciate is honesty in terms of the challenges that we face, and an honest dialogue in terms of the rationale for measures and why people are being asked or why proposals are being made in respect of that. Critically for me, I suppose there is a regulatory objective here, and the nitrates regulation fits within the framework of the Water Framework Directive, which is a much larger suite of regulations implemented by housing, with the nitrates applying for farmers and the farmers' contribution towards the achievement of good water, and Donald will talk a bit about that during the webinar. We would manage then the derogation process, which would follow where Ireland seeks a derogation under the regulation, and we have to provide particular evidence in terms of supporting that. This is very much a consultation process, so critically, I think people should consider there's a lot of debate and talk about the proposals. They are proposals. The objective of the webinar this evening is to discuss openly and frankly the rationale behind them, and to get feedback in terms of people's views on them and the merits or otherwise, how they can be made practical. And critically, moving beyond tonight, I just want to remind people that the closing date for receipt of submissions is the 20th of September. This is the second consultation we've done in relation to the nitrates regulations. The earlier one had over 100 submissions at that time, and that informed really the direction of proposals that are now being made. From here, what will happen? Well, we will take the learnings from this evening, but also more importantly from the written consultation process, and they will go to the expert review group, who will consider those in the round, and then make a suite of recommendations to the two ministers, the Minister for Housing and also the Minister for Agriculture, and that should inform the direction of development of the legislation, which needs to be in place before the end of the year. It'll also be agreed with the Commission over the next couple of months, so there'll be a three-way dialogue in relation to that development. I suppose for me, when we look at I suppose some of the issues that we need to take account of is those trends in water quality recently have been negative, and that's associated with increased pressure. And how do we deal with those, both regulatory but also from a market driver point of view? Anyone who is listening to Countrywide recently would have heard Tom Arnold, who was the chair of the stakeholder group, the Foodwise 2030 vision, and that very clearly identified the need to deal with water quality, I suppose, as an early indication of intent within the sector. I think I want to remind people our overall water quality is good from a European perspective, but we need to do better and we need to improve water quality, and that's critical to the agriculture sector into the future. So without further ado, I think I'm going to hand it over then to my colleagues in terms of the presentation. At the end of what are the three presentations, we'll open for questions through the chat room, and I believe we have the technical capability, and I hope it certainly works, where if you put a question into that, we may be able to call on you to vocalize that or verbalize that for answer by the team. We may not get to all questions this evening, but they certainly will be taken on board in terms of that consultation.